What's up? What's up? It is Friday. Friday. And it's actually a good Friday at that. I mean, it's a really good Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. If you would please bless me by hitting that thumbs up, share this video, get it out there, get it out there, get it out there. Help me. Help me share this information. So I'm pretty sure by now, all of you have heard. If you haven't heard, you're hearing it here for the first time. I'd be surprised. Letitia James. Letitia James has been indicted, rightfully so. And all of the liberal media, all of the Democrats are having a total meltdown. Total meltdown. They're like, what? He's not supposed to do this. Does he not know who we are? We're Democrats. We get to break the law. We're above the law. This is the Democrats for you. So, Letitia James indicted. More to come. More to come. More indicts in sight. I labeled it like that. Tried to make it rhyme, but I failed at it. But it's still, nonetheless, you get the point. More indicts in sight. I can see them. I can see them. They're coming. They're coming. This is what I voted for. I voted for this very thing. And I kept saying that if President Trump, if his administration do not get these people for the corruption that they put this country through for the past 10 years, we don't have a country. We don't have a country if President Trump doesn't get them. And I'm going to have to tell you that I voted for President Trump to get them. That's part of the mandate. His only mandate is not to get and remove these illegal criminals from the streets of America. But the mandate that President Trump received was for him to get the criminals inside the government. Get these criminals that have abused the law. They completely abused it. Letitia James ran on getting Trump. Did y'all know that? Her whole thing was, we're going to get him. I'm going to get him. So you need to vote for me so I can get Trump. The past 10 years, that's all the Democrats have been working on, is how to get Trump. I mean, think about it really quick. When President Trump was in office the first time, what did they do to try to get Trump? They impeached the man twice. They impeached him twice. They didn't try to permanently put President Trump to sleep during that time. They did it when he wasn't in office, afraid of him coming back, because they were afraid of what President Trump is doing right now. So they tried to permanently put President Trump to sleep. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We voted for President Trump to get these people. Because if President Trump doesn't get these people, when they come back around, if the pendulum ever swings, they're going to come with full-on communist force like we've never been seen before. And guess what? There's enough people in these police departments. There's enough people that's currently in the military. They're kind of staying low right now. They're trying to stay under the radar so Pete Hegseth don't pay attention to them. So I'm hoping Pete Hegseth will get rid of them. But there's still enough people in these positions that would do the tyranny for the Democrats. There's still enough people there. And hopefully, just hopefully, that the Democrats, they will try. They will try, but hopefully this midterm election, that the Democrats will get a beautiful, rude awakening that the American people have completely woken up to their games. The American people will say enough is enough. We're done, and not vote for these Democrats. Vote them out. Vote them out. You know what? When I first started doing what I'm doing, I actually came up with this whole idea saying vote them out, DEM. To the point, I don't know if y'all can see it right here. Y'all see this? It says vote them, DEM, vote them out. And I don't know how, you can't see it from there, but President Trump actually signed this. I put it in a glass box. I put it in a glass box. President Trump signed my hat at the White House. Vote them out. And, every time I look at it, it reminds me. And I remember when they, what happened in 2020. I don't know if you can still say it on here yet, but you know how they are. So what happened in 2020, I was like, man, I looked at my hat and I'm like, man, it's really bummer, because President Trump should have been able to fulfill, his destiny. But, it was just a gap in between there. But then when President Trump won again in 2024, let's go. Vote them out. I voted for President Trump to get these people. That was the mandate. That was the mandate that President Trump received. So here we are. Letitia James indicted. How many of y'all upset about it? Is there anybody watching upset that President Trump's administration has indicted the DOJ? It's not even his administration. It's the DOJ, which is an independent. They're independent. So are you upset that they finally indicted this woman? Now, look, she probably would have gone up under the radar if she would have never personally ran on getting Trump and trying to find out if he broke the law somewhere. And the thing is, they got 34 fraudulent charges against President Trump. Fraudulent charges, mind you, because they did it in liberal New York, which is about to be communist New York. You understand what I'm telling you? With Madami. If they get him in there, it's going to be full-on communist New York. I mean, it is what it is. So she ran on getting him. She could have just done her job and went after actual criminals. The charges that they brought President Trump on in New York, they've never brought those charges up against a single person in American history. They made up charges just to get Trump. You can't make it up. Just to get Trump. Well, for those of you that don't remember, do you know the Democrats, they constantly said, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. How many times have you heard them say that? They said it. They had it on repeat. No one is above the law. No one's 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 above the law. I mean, they all said it. And then all of a sudden, when the law actually is doing its job, then they have a problem with it. But let me play this recap for you, for those of you that don't remember.
No one is above the law.
Nobody's above the law.
No person is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
You're not above the law. You're not an elite. You're not untouchable. And so it's nice to see that the rule of law has returned.
Oh, it really is nice to see that the rule of law has returned. You know what these Democrats are doing? They're upset because Letitia James just got indicted yesterday. This woman here, it's a nasty woman. Nasty, nasty. She just got indicted. And the Democrats are like, well, you know what? Everything that President Trump is doing is like water under the bridge. Why is he doing this now? Is he going there for revenge? And my question is, when they ask this question, is President Trump doing this for revenge? What revenge would President Trump be doing here? I mean, what revenge? See, before they indicted President Trump, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, they have never done this before in American history. This has never happened before. Never before. But now they all have grown amnesia and they completely forgot what they did to President Trump. And now they expect us, the rest of the country, to go along with, well, you know what? That was during that time. And how dare you want to impeach, or not impeach, well, they did that, President. How dare you want to indict somebody? This is not right. This is not right. You're not supposed to be doing this, going after your political rivals, indicting them. How dare you? This has never happened before in America. This is how they're acting. Again, they've grown amnesia and completely forgot that they did it to President Trump 4 times. 4 times. Listen to this nasty person in 2023.
No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
No one's above the law. No one's above the law. I bet you she's eating those words right now. And there's also this. If you commit a crime, and see, here's something else with the Democrats. If you commit a crime, and the Democrats are acting like they committed a crime, not even acting like they did, but the Democrats committed this crime. They committed this crime, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years, 4 years ago. Up the past 10 years, they've been committing these crimes. So like, for example, they went into a bank and they took all of the money out the bank, not lawfully. They took all the money out the bank, put all the money in the bag, and they ran with it. And then they got caught, because they got away when they left the bank. Now they got caught after they robbed the bank. They're all on camera robbing the bank. We can see them all on camera, but now the law finally catch up with them. And you know what the Democrats are saying? The Democrats are saying, this is personal. This is political. You're coming after me for what? Well, for what? And see, these same Democrats said President Trump robbed the bank. This is what they're saying. President Trump robbed the bank, not on camera, no record of it anywhere. The banks still want to do business with President Trump. But then they turn around and say President Trump is the one that robbed the bank after they the one that robbed the bank. This is just an analogy, okay? For those of you that's having a hard time, liberals catching up. It's just an analogy. It's the same concept. Now they're going, but President Trump robbed the bank after they robbed the bank. And now President Trump's back in office and saying, you know what? You broke the law. You robbed the bank. The justice system it needs to do its job. How dare you? How dare you? You're just doing this because it's political. The law needs to be upheld. And the Democrats have broken the law. And Letitia James, she's in big trouble. The grand jury, they don't do indictments unless there's enough evidence to indict. Meaning Letitia James is in trouble, along with James Comey. Letitia James and James Comey both in trouble. And to my understanding, there's more people coming. Adam Schiff, same thing with Adam Schiff. He did the same thing Letitia James did. Same thing. Same thing. So you know what? They took the gloves off when they indicted President Trump 4 times. And see, the Democrats are so fearful, and they tried to stop President Trump every step of the way, that they tried to put him to sleep permanently. The Democrats tried to put President Trump to sleep permanently. This is how fearful they are of the man. And I'm telling you right now, they need to increase President Trump's security detail more than ever. Because you know who's at the top of the list, or who should be at the top of the list of the indictments? Obama. I'm just waiting for them to do Obama. How come Obama hasn't been indicted as of yet? The whole Russia collusion delusion. Remember the dossier, the FISA court. Remember all of that? Remember spying on President Trump's campaign because he was the front runner and they were terrified of him? You remember that? I remember all of that like it was just yesterday. But it was okay for Obama to do it, right? And Obama tried to act like he had no idea that the FBI was spying on President Trump. And now come to find out the FBI was spying on senators, sitting senators of the United States of America. And all of the radical leftist lunatic liberals are trying to say, well, you know, it was just Jack Smith doing this investigation. That's all he was doing. What? The whole J6 was a sham. It's already been proven. Total sham. Jack Smith, he needs to be indicted as well. Every last one of them, what they put this country through, they should be indicted. They should be indicted. 100%. Is there anyone in disagreement? This is what I voted for. This is what I voted for. I voted for President Trump to get these people, uphold the law. I voted for this. Y'all see? That's my thumbnail right there. That's my thumbnail. I voted for this. Get them. If you don't get them, the rest of us, we're in trouble. I'm telling you right now. The rest of us, we're in trouble if they don't get them. You know what I'm telling you is true. Because if the pendulum swings, and I've been saying this a lot here lately, if the pendulum swings back the other way, these Democrats, they're going to come down on every single Trump supporter, not just the people in President Trump's cabinet. They're going to come down on every single person that ever said a word, spoke a word, or thunk a word in support of President Trump. You understand what I'm telling you? If you thunk it, they're going to come after all of us. They don't care they don't care if you were thinking a certain way at one point and you started thinking another way at another point. They're coming after you if you ever posted a single thing in support of President Trump. And President Trump's administration, he has to know this. He has to know this. Let me tell you really quick before I get to this next clip. And this next one is another one. Here lately, I've been doing a little activity on TikTok because TikTok is, getting ready to do some dramatic changes. So I've been doing a little lives on TikTok because you can do the TikTok thing and you get people join on there and, liberals join in because they hate to see me. I was wearing my MAGA hat and I was showing a picture of James Comey and Letitia James and I had the words indict at the top, indicted. Well, one liberal joined in and having a conversation with me and this liberal go, you know what? Y'all go ahead and indict all the people that you want. And see, they grow amnesia. Liberals, they can't remember anything past yesterday. I mean, other than, because Trump lives rent free in their head, they can't remember anything else. But this liberal actually said, y'all go ahead and indict everybody that you can right now. Because when the Democrats get back into control, of course, he didn't say Democrats. He said when the Democrats get back in control, he says, we're coming after all of y'all. This is what he said. He said, we're coming after all of y'all. He says, none of you are going to be safe. As if they hadn't done it already. See, they're paying for the actions that they did. There's a consequence that comes in play when you do certain things. There's consequences. Multiple things will happen. And that's what's happening right now. They believe that they should be able to be corrupt as all get out. They believe that they should be able to do any criminal activity that they want and nothing happens to them. It's kind of the same reason why they're okay with taking the life of the most innocent of us all. The child in the mother's womb. They don't have an issue with. And you know why? Because they say, oh, that child is going to hinder you from being successful. That child is going to stop you from living your life. They don't want people to have the consequences of the actions that a man and a woman took together. No consequences. That's what it really comes down to. But they're coming. They're coming. And they can't wait. It's eating them up right now. And they also said, this liberal was on TikTok, he also said that we're going to do the same thing to you because President Trump he's rounding up American citizens right now without any due process, for no reason other than their color, and rounding up people just because of their color, and they're disappearing them, knowing good and well it's not true. And I've been saying for the longest that the Democrats getting this lie that President Trump is doing this, and they're spreading that lie just so if they ever do get back into power, they can start rounding up people that are actually American citizens. And then they're going to say, well, when President Trump was doing it, you said nothing. When President Trump was doing it, you said nothing. President Trump is not rounding up American citizens. He's not. But see, the Democrats are spreading that lie, trying to convince everybody that he is. So if they ever get back in there, they can do it. And let me ask y'all, because right now, the Democrats are saying that they're rounding up people of color. If the Democrats ever get back into the position where they can implement full-on communism, what people you think they're going to start rounding up? Because see, right now, they're saying that President Trump is rounding up people of color. You understand what I'm telling you? He's rounding up people of color. Don't even ask them their citizen status or nothing. Just rounding up people of color. So when they get in there, who do you think they're going to round up? It's not even a trick question that I'm asking here. Here's the comments. Who do you think they're going to want to round up? And I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying this because I want a racial war, racial division. I'm not saying that at all. But the Democrats, you know how they are. You know how they are. Okay, let's get to this one. Talking about Letitia James. They're so mad right now. This is not supposed to happen. And again, they grow amnesia. They completely forgot that they indicted President Trump 4 times fraudulently. Over fraudulent. I mean, really, what happened to those indictments? Oh, but President Trump won. And I got a video on that one I want y'all to listen to about President Trump winning. Listen.
Senator, I'm going to ask you to stand by for me for just 1 second. And I would like to come back to the senator to get her to react to this immediately. But we do need to get to this breaking news out of the White House with Kristen Holmes. Kristen, I understand we have some legal breaking news.
Yeah, we have just learned that New York Attorney General Letitia James, who obviously brought the charges and won against President Donald Trump, has just been indicted by the Department of Justice. This was a case that President Trump wanted to be brought. It's a mortgage fraud case, and it's also what led to the leaving of the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. Eric.
No. Listen, this is what President Trump wanted. No, you know what? The law need to be upheld. This is what the American people wanted. They keep trying to paint this as if this is what President Trump is. This is President Trump's personal vendetta. No, it's not. This is a mandate. This is part of the mandate. The American people voted for President Trump to do his job. They voted for his administration to get these criminals. If they did it to President Trump, do you think that we're safe? If they did it to President Trump, and President Trump, which is a billionaire, if they did it to him trying to break him, what do you think that they'll do to us? And see, I'm going on a limb here. These Democrats, I bet you they're probably reevaluating, saying that we probably should have just gone after people like Will Johnson and all of his supporters instead of going after him. You know, they're probably thinking that. But see, they can't help themselves. All they do is Trump, 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 Trump. They think about Trump more than we do. And we voted for him. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Now listen to what Anderson Cooper said about Letitia James. I mean, really, Anderson Cooper. He said talking about Letitia James, when she was running for the Attorney General in New York, she ran on getting Trump. And of course, they all grow amnesia about it, except for Anderson Cooper brought it up and said, maybe she shouldn't have done it. He's saying, look, there's a lesson here. There's a lesson here.
The system is not supposed to work.
Jeff, I mean, according to PolitiFact, the day after she was elected in 2018, Letitia James was asked by a community activist if she was going to sue President Trump. And she replied, quote, "Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally." I mean, that's not a great look for somebody who has just been elected or just been campaigning, who hasn't even looked, I guess, at deeply at any evidence.
Yeah, that's just it. There was no evidence. There was nothing. We have to find something. We have to keep looking. Years ago, and every now and then I bring it up, how this analogy is another lame analogy that I came up with, that, they would say that President Trump ended someone's life, like he murdered somebody. But there's no missing persons report. There's no crime scene. There's no evidence of a struggle. There's no chalk layout of a person on the ground. There's nothing. They go around. Is anybody missing? Is anybody? Nope. No one's missing. Well, we know that President Trump murdered somebody. We got to keep digging until we find it. This is exactly what Letitia James and all the Democrats been doing. We know that he committed some kind of crime, so we got to find something. So since we can't find anything, Letitia James said, let's just make it up. That'll work, right?
Well, we live in a system where attorneys general and district attorneys in the United States, unlike almost any other country, are elected officials, are politicians. So they run for office making political statements. That's how our system works. It's not pretty. I don't think it's a great system, but there's nothing uncommon about it. The other point to make, though, is just because she made inappropriate comments, that doesn't mean she should get indicted for fraud years later. I mean, we're not supposed to live in a system of that kind of tit for tat. Criminal cases are supposed to stand or fall on their own merits.
David.
What? You hear this? Tit for tat. Why did the tit happen in the first place? He's talking about we shouldn't be doing stuff tit for tat. Why did the tit happen in the first place? Why did they do it in the first place? So should it go unanswered? See, that's exactly my point, what I was saying a minute ago. They've committed a crime and they don't want you to look at it. Well, just let that go. Don't retaliate. Don't bring the law. Don't bring it to attention what we actually did. I mean, this is their angle. They're seriously doing this as their angle. It is the most remarkable time to be alive. You and I, we get to experience America on two paths, on the path of greatness or on the path of liberal destruction. MAGA greatness, you know, I'm saying it that way. We get right now, we're right. Actually, the election determined that. And President Trump, he has this opportunity right now, and I think that's the reason why he put that memo out to Pam Bondi, because a lot of people were questioning, because the mandate is that they get these people, not just the illegals. Look, I expected President Trump's administration to get the illegals out, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. That just goes without me saying it. I think that goes for majority of the country, right? Because it's mandate. You got to get these people out because they're doing too much harm to our country. If they came in the right way, then welcome, but they didn't come the right way. So I've already expected them to do it. I don't need them to come tell me every other day or go onto the news, Fox News, what have you, and tell us how many illegals that you have detained and deported. You don't have to come tell me every day. Just do your job. Okay, that one, you just do your job. Go ahead, and then a month later, then report it if you have to come out and say it. But what I want to hear on a day-to-day basis is the indictment of James Comey. Okay, we got one. Now we got an indictment of Letitia James. We got another one. We need the indictment of Mayorkas. We need an indictment of Christopher Wray. We need an indictment of Obama. We need an indictment of Hillary Clinton. We need an indictment of Merrick Garland. We need an indictment of Fauci. We need an indictment of Biden. We need an indictment of Kamala Harris because she was the border czar and people lost their lives because she didn't do her job. We need indictments of these criminals that have been doing all this stuff. And if anybody should really get an indictment as well, Nancy Pelosi, with all the insider trading. And you know what? It's not even a secret that she's been doing insider trading. It's not a secret. You or I and they constantly say no one's above the law. If you or I did anything remotely close to what Nancy Pelosi's been doing when it comes to the stock market, we wouldn't see the light of day. They put Martha Stewart in prison. They put Martha Stewart in prison for insider trading. But here, Nancy Pelosi and the other politicians, they get to do it all day long. And nothing happens to them. You talk about corruption. The mandate is to get these people and to stop the corruption. That's the mandate. I voted for this. Darren just put on Facebook, I voted for this. He said, I voted for all of this. Yeah, I voted for this. We, the American people, voted for what they're doing. And you hear these liberals, they come on here and they go, well, this is not what the American people asked for. This is not what we want. Yes, it is. We were upset because it hadn't happened already. We were all upset. Like, what in the world is Pam Bondi doing? Is she crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's is the reason why they haven't done it yet? I'm on the outside looking in. And we all see the corruption. So how is it that these people that are on the inside that have access to all of this sensitive data with all the corruption happening, they don't know? But now it's starting to happen. And the panic mode that we're seeing from the left is because they don't know if the Democrats, they don't know if the Republicans or if the DOJ is going to stop with just Letitia James. They know they're not going to stop with her. They can't. You know, they did Roger Stone. They did Steve Bannon. They did General Flynn. Right? But we're supposed to forget all about that because they were on Trump's side. And because they were on Trump's side, it's perfectly fine to indict them and to even imprison them because they're on Trump's side. But Democrats Democrats are expected to break the law. Democrats are expected to be criminals. So you can't lock them up because that's just in their nature.
I'm seeing 1,200 days in which this administration will not let up. And it's not
1,200 days and this administration won't let up. Really? Okay, sorry to stop it.
I'm seeing 1,200 days in which this administration will not let up. And it's not just because of what Donald Trump wants, but the part of traveling around the country the last, especially 2 years, since really the FBI investigation in 2022 ramped up and ultimately Donald Trump announced that he was going to run for another term. And days later, Jack Smith was appointed by Merrick Garland to head on the special counsel case. And
yeah, so we're not supposed to pay attention to any of that. Oh, what? President Trump is going to run again? Jack Smith, get him. Get him. But you're not supposed to pay attention to that. Oh, wait a minute. Stop Trump. Stop Trump. That's all they can think about. Stop Trump. Jack Smith. See, Jack Smith needs to be indicted. Remember he planted those fake documents at Mar-a-Lago too? The FBI, all that, Christopher Wray, all of that comes together. Get them all.
And at that same time is when Letitia James' civil fraud trial really took off and the announcement of her lawsuit. At that point in time, the future of this country, I think, really pivoted. And that was from a place of not just Donald Trump's demand for retribution, but what I would go on to say millions of Americans wanted. And they believed that there was a real effort to handicap and undercut the Republican Party and throw their leader, their political leader, Donald Trump, in jail. And they wanted revenge. And the only way to get that revenge was justice. A key principle here in the American legal system is justice.
So they weaponized the justice system to get Trump. We all saw it. I was there. You were there. We all saw it. They weaponized the justice system to try to get Trump, to try to stop him. And they failed beautifully. And let me remind you again, they tried to put President Trump to sleep permanently. They tried to sleep him. They failed. And they're mad about it.
And a great many people have believed the president of the United States. And the calls, I go back to that November 2023 rally after he was found liable, after going to Manhattan Courthouse for 2.5 months during this Letitia James trial here. He went to that rally and he said, we have to go after every Marxist prosecutor in America, right? That wasn't just Letitia James. That wasn't just Fani Willis. That wasn't just Jack Smith. Every Marxist prosecutor in the country. And
I like that idea. This is part of the mandate. This is what I voted for. I voted for this, to get these Marxists. And all of these Marxists on here, they were like, oh my goodness, we need to stop this.
You have seen a fundamental effort here by Donald Trump and backed by a Republican Party that has not sought, from Speaker Mike Johnson to Republican senators, from John Cornyn to Chuck Grassley. Everybody has effectively backed up his efforts in terms of his attacks on the justice system and these individuals that sought to prosecute him, because it was not just a legal case of justice, but so many millions of Americans saw it as a political one, right, and one that was attempted to undercut their own political futures. And I think that is the place where we now find ourselves.
Anthony Coley, we have less than a minute left, but I would say I don't think that Vaughn has been totally fair to Lisa Murkowski, who was...
I mean, come on. I wonder if they ever take the time to think that the American people is no longer buying their crap. I wonder if they ever think that. And they say, this is stuff that I think about. I'm a role player here. Do you think that the American people are buying our liberal demon crap? Do you think they're buying it still? And the other liberals go, you know what? Maybe not, but we got to keep trying. We got to keep lying to the American people about Trump. We got to keep doing it. Because we're still winning over some. We're still winning over some. We still have some. We still have a somewhat of a base. They got Antifa going out there doing their will. We still got a base. There's a lot of people that don't want to see the truth. Oh, which makes me think about this too. There was this young man. that was on TikTok last night, and he went by Mr. Chosen One. It was a black male. And I don't know his real name, his actual name, but that was his name on TikTok. And he came on and he said, Will Johnson. He says, I have to tell you, he says, I have to apologize to you. And I'm like, okay, I've never met this guy before. He's a black male. I never met him before. He says, I have to apologize to you. I said, for what? He said, for years, I used to watch you on YouTube. And I would watch you do your walk-in talks on YouTube, and you would go to various places on your YouTube channel, and you would talk to people that were on the left, and I would go on there and I would just say all the nasty things I can think of towards you, about you, and the people that supported you. He says, I have to apologize to you. He says, I was wrong. And I'm like, what? He said, I was wrong. And you know what? That made me feel really good, because when I do my videos, I know that especially when I do Man on the Street, and I do my videos, and I know the people that I'm talking to on the street, for the most part, you're not gonna reach them, right? You're not gonna reach them. But the people that watch the videos, and he said that he used to put nasty comments all the time in my YouTube channel. And now he's saying he's apologizing, and now he's completely MAGA. And I don't know if he's still connected to my YouTube channel. I meant to ask him before they killed my my live last night. But it felt really good that he was doing that. And I asked him, I said, did you ever see me be nasty towards the people that I was talking to that had different opinion? He said, no. He said, and that was the reason what made me start thinking. I said, as much as I was nasty towards you, Will Johnson, you never came back and was just nasty to people. You were nasty to me. You were nasty to the people you were talking to. And he says, because you just kept your cool when you were talking to these people, it got me to look, I'm like, my goodness. And it just went on. And then all of a sudden he said a light bulb came on. He said, now I see the demon crash. He said, that's exactly what they are. These are demons that we're dealing with. Straight up demons. These demons don't have any problems lying. They don't have any problems lying to the American people. None at all. They're perfectly fine lying to the American people. Perfectly fine with it. So there was another video. I'm not going to have time to show it to you, but there was another video. Let me see if I can find it where they are upset that President Trump. Did I not get it? I think this might be it here. There was a video where they were hoping that they would have been able to stop President Trump, and that he would have been. I think this might be it here. So there's a video. If I can't find it, if this is not it, they're out there saying that they wish they could have stopped Trump, because the only reason why Trump is not in prison for the rest of his life is because he won the election. They're saying it. They're actually saying it. That's the only reason why because he won the election, the reason why he's not in prison for the rest of his life. And for the life of me, I really wanted to share that with everybody. And I don't think I actually got it. Let me play this one. This might be it, because I want y'all to hear this.
How strong of a case do you think the Justice Department has? And separately, but relatedly, Lindsay Halligan, who is the acting U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she is bringing indictments that it sounds as though people in the Eastern District of Virginia thought would be difficult to prove in a court of law. That is a higher standard than bringing an indictment. How big a task does she have ahead of her?
Well, look, mortgage fraud is something that's been used in many circumstances in other political cases. You got to remember, we sent Bernie Kerik to jail for 4 years because he made a mistake on his mortgage application. So there is certainly precedent for this, and it's particularly interesting when Letitia James brought an almost identical case against Donald Trump, in New York in a civil context. And so, I do think that when you certify that something is true and there's something in there that's false like that, you would expect that the Attorney General of the state of New York would be more careful in what she's putting on those applications. And so I'm sure that they have some kind of context to put those other documents into, whether those were things that were, put in after the fact, after it was discovered, whatever it is, we'll find out, soon enough. But Lindsay,
Yeah, that's not the video that I wanted to share. I'm going to share it on my Culture War show because y'all really need to hear it. They were hoping that they could have put President Trump in prison for the rest of his life so they wouldn't have to see all of this mandate come to fruition. They were hoping so. So I'm going to play it on my show on Culture War. So if you want to see that, you want to see it, if you're interested, UniteAmericaFirst.com, UniteAmericaFirst.com, and you'll see it right there on the front of the page. Culture Wars. It's going to be just over 1 hour from now. 1 hour from now. Well, let me share something else with you. I'm going to move on from this. Let me share this with you. Here's Mike Johnson on here talking about the Democrats because the Democrats did this shutdown. All the Republicans said, open the government. The Republicans opened the door, turned the lights on. The Democrats turned the lights off and slammed the door closed and said, give us what we want or we're not opening, right? Give us what we want. We have a say-so in this. You give us what we want. Listen to Mike Johnson as he's talking about this because they also bring up the No Kings event that the Democrats are having. And apparently, according to Mike Johnson, the Democrats are going to keep the government closed until after their anti-American No Kings event on the 18th. So that means another 8 days minimum, at least another 8 days, if Mike Johnson is correct.
Very patient guy, but I have had it with these people. They're playing games with real people's lives. The theory we have right now, they have a Hate America rally that's scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall. It's all
it is a Hate America rally.
The pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people, they're all coming out.
Yep.
Some of the House Democrats are selling T-shirts for the event, and it's being told to us that they won't be able to reopen the government until after that rally because they can't face their rabid base. I mean, this is serious business hurting real people. And I'm beyond words. I can't believe they're actually doing this.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you're talking about that No Kings rally. Real quickly before we move on to another topic.
Yeah, he's talking about the No Kings rally, right? And then he also bring up how some of the Democrats are actually selling T-shirts for this event. Now, here's one of the Democrats, but this Democrat is no longer in office, but he still go out there and run his mouth. He was down as a registered Republican, but he's still a full-on Democrat. And I didn't realize this about Adam Kinzinger, but he was a registered Democrat. He changed his party affiliation, ran as a Republican, and he won because he fooled the people in his state. He won, and then after he got in there, he just went right to being a straight-up Democrat. And no longer is he in political office, but he's still pushing the Democrat agenda. And here he is throwing a MAGA hat away, and he's promoting a left-wing radical communist T-shirt.
Are you tired of seeing these everywhere? Like, I get it. We know what you think. Well, now you can...
He had to practice that a couple of times, right?
Tell people what you think and what you believe. It's very comfortable. Maybe a little uncomfortable for them. So go to wearthemoutproducts.com, have a look at the selection, and for once, tell people what you think.
You mean to tell me all of this time that Democrats haven't been telling us what they think? Really? All this time? All this time? Well, I have mine. And I've been waiting for that. I just got it. I just got it in the mail. Y'all see that? Look at that. Y'all see that? What does it say? What does that say? Jesus is king and Trump is our president. That's the fine print. Jesus is king. And this one's on my website. I've been waiting. Look at that. That's a handsome shirt, right? See, I kind of like stuff to be simple. Simplicity is key for me. So I just made it really, really simple. Jesus is king. And the last time I went to the No Kings event, I told these demons, I said, Jesus is king. And they went, no. And I couldn't believe it. I was thinking when I would say Jesus is king, I was just expecting them to not even respond, say nothing, or at the minimum, I thought they would go, yeah, he's the only one, but no. They said no when I said Jesus is king. So I plan on being at the next anti-American No Kings event. Even if I have to go by myself, I plan on going. I went by myself last time. And I know these people are violent. They're 100% violent. They don't even hide the fact that they're violent. And when they're violent, they say it's mostly peaceful. It's mostly peaceful as they're being violent, burning the city up. So I'm not afraid. I'm stepping out on faith and I'm going in the name of Jesus. And I pray that Jesus is with me. All right, so 1 hour from right now, just over an hour from right now, go to put it on your phone too. UnitedAmericaFirst.com. You'll be able to see my show, Culture Wars. Let me see if I can put it up here really quick for you. I thought I already had it set up. So if you you can go to my show. I'm gonna show you how to get there really quick. I mean, it's really easy too. I had to do it this way so it'd be really easy for people. Okay, yep, here we go, right here. UnitedAmericaFirst.com. Once you get there to my website, UnitedAmericaFirst.com, just scroll down just a little bit and you see it right there in the middle. You see it right there in the middle, Culture Wars. Click on that and you'll see my show that's live. And also, let me remind everybody, thank you so much for also going to my website. If you haven't already, please consider, let me remind you, if you thought about doing it and you forgot, please help me reach President Trump over big tech tyranny. It's a letter that I wrote to President Trump. And if you click on the PDF, and I'm asking you if you could download the PDF and you get it right here, you sign it, and then send my letter to President Trump. You can go here, you can read my letter. It's explaining what I've gone through and what just happened here recently in the news and stuff like that. But right here, you can see at the top, I'm writing to you on behalf of Will Johnson, a fellow American whose voice and livelihood has been unfairly silenced by big tech. Please help him in his fight for justice and fairness. Below is a letter he sent sharing his story and urgent plea for actions. Best regards. And then you sign it if you want to help me out. Put it on a stamp, and you know what? It's like a lotto. It might be your letter that makes it to President Trump's desk. It might be your letter that makes it to President Trump's desk, trying to help somebody out. Because I have I got screenshots, I got everything to show what they've been doing. I've been taking screenshots and they're still doing it right now today. And that's what made me write this letter, because they agreed to pay President Trump millions of dollars for the tech tyranny that they did to him in the last term. And I'm like, Mr. President, what about the rest of us? And they're still doing it to the rest of us. So please consider UnitedAmericaFirst.com, download that PDF, put it in the mail. Your letter might be the one that makes it to President Trump's desk. All you have to do is sign it and mail it. I made it that easy. Download it, print it, sign it, mail it. All right, everybody. God bless you. See you in 1 hour on Culture Wars. 1 hour on Culture Wars. You can see it right there. 1 hour on Culture Wars. I will see you right there. And I'm going to open up the phone line while I'm there too. All right. God bless everyone. See you in 1 hour, or just 1 hour and 10 minutes. God bless. Have a blessed weekend.